All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jorge Acosta Palme, and I'm the director of the Statewide Training Initiative with Florida Legal Services. We're excited to have you join us here today for Hollywood Community Court, a problem-solving approach to justice and homelessness. Before I introduce our speakers, I do want to go through some quick housekeeping announcements. The training is being recorded. You're going to receive a copy of this recording in an email from Zoom within 24 hours. I will also be posting it on our YouTube account as well, so that should be posted within a few hours after we wrap up today in case you were unable to register and you want to share it with others. If you're having any issues accessing the recording, feel free to let me know and I'll drop my email into the chat as well. The training was approved for CLE by the Florida Bar for 1 general and 0.5 mental health and wellness CLE credits. I'll announce the CLE code towards the end of the webinar. I will also drop it into the chat, and I will also include the CLE code both on the email from Zoom and on the YouTube description for your convenience. Closed captions are enabled for anybody who needs them. If you're having any issues with accessibility, feel free to email me. I will drop that email into the chat again. And this webinar is being co-hosted by the Public Interest Law Section, or PILS, of the Florida Bar. If you're not familiar with PILS, I encourage you to take a look to their website. We've been updating the website. We've been adding to the calendar. We're planning some networking events. We're also trying to be more active on social media. So I will be dropping links to both the website and social media accounts so you can follow the Public Interest Law Section in case you're interested in joining. Final piece of housekeeping announcements are questions and answers. If you do have any questions during the webinar, please use our Q&A feature on Zoom instead of the chat. We'll try to address all the questions towards the end of the webinar, so there's some time set aside for those questions. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers today. Judge Corey Amanda Cawthon is the presiding judge for the Hollywood Community Court. She was elected as a Broward County Court judge in 2018 and is assigned to the South Satellite Courthouse for Broward County's 17th Judicial Circuit in the city of Hollywood, Florida. She presides over a county civil division in addition to a misdemeanor criminal division and Hollywood's Community Court division. Angela Blaine is a member of the Community Development Division for the City of Hollywood. She manages the Community Court program, which provides alternatives to jail for low-level misdemeanor crimes while connecting the homeless with services. Angela has over 16 years of social service experience that directly benefits people in need. When I learned about the Hollywood Community Court, I immediately reached out to Judge Cawthon and Angela, and they responded really quickly. And we jumped on a call, and I felt like I did not want to get off that call. They are amazing people, and they are going. I'm really excited for this webinar. So, with all that said, I'm going to pass it to both Judge Cawthon and Angela Blaine. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Jorge, and welcome to everyone that's here. It's really exciting to be able to share information about Hollywood Community Court and Community Court in general with everyone. Angela is here with me. We're going to be presenting together, and I'm going to try to make sure that we have time at the end to address any questions that anyone may have following the presentation. So with that being said, I think we're ready, Jorge, to go to our next slide. And Angela, you can take it away.
Okay, what is community court? Community court is a compassionate and therapeutic approach to criminal justice for individuals who have nonviolent misdemeanor crimes, offering community service hours instead of fines and jail time. We also try to address the underlying issues of the NTA and notice to appear. The Center for Court Innovation describes community courts as a neighborhood-focused court that attempts to harness the power of the justice system to address local problems. Broward County's focus exclusively on homeless defendants and walk-in individuals and families.
Alrighty, so this is community court in general. I do just want to say, and we may get into this a little bit more later on, that there are different types of community courts across the nation. And so I wanted to specifically indicate to anyone that may be interested in community court that with respect to Florida and Broward County specifically, the community courts that we will be focusing on, as Angela said, those are going to be dealing exclusively with homeless defendants, as well as walk-in individuals. And we're going to get into that more specifically later on. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So when we're discussing why community court is a thing, I like to bring some math into it. Not that attorneys are known for being good at math. I think I can say that pretty generally speaking, but especially for myself. But, community court in Broward County was a real passion project for our prior Chief Judge Jack Tudor. And these numbers are something that always came up in discussion with him when educating other providers and people in our community about community court. So whether you are looking at community court from a more business-minded state or something more akin to a social justice opinion, these are numbers that everyone can understand. So I think that these are pretty shocking when you get into the detail of it. Back in November of 2018, which is prior to the establishment of community court in Broward County, our average daily jail population was roughly 3,500. These days it ranges between 3,000 and 3,500 and has been that way for the past few years pretty consistently. In 2018, the average cost per person per day that was in custody in the jail was $140. Fast forward to 2023, so again, that's still 2 years ago from today, that cost had already increased to $224 a day per person. But it's interesting because when you get into a further breakdown regarding the jail population, things start to change depending on what's going on with that individual. So you can see from the slide here that in 2023, the average length of stay in jail for an individual that was not released within the first 7 days goes up to 163 days. So that's obviously a huge jump. But when we look at individuals that are receiving mental health services, that increases from 163 to an average of 356 days in custody. So in 2023, the average cost for an in-custody individual receiving mental health services goes up to almost $80,000. That's even more shocking when you consider the fact that 42% of our jail population in 2023 were receiving some sort of mental health services. So if that's not shocking enough for anyone that may be listening, that means that if we're dealing with an average jail population that falls between 3,000 and 3,500 people on any given day, you're talking about a total of almost 1,300 to almost 1,500 individuals receiving mental health services. So that means the cost of housing those individuals that were receiving mental health services is averaging over $100 million for this period of time. So we're looking at almost a year. So these are some very exorbitant amounts of money that are being spent to house individuals that are being jailed and receiving mental health services. And I do just want to be clear that this is for individuals going all the way from, from misdemeanors at the bottom onto felonies up at the top. So there's not any delineation between the type of crime someone may be dealing with or why they're in custody. This is just general, but it's still, the numbers are pretty shocking when you're considering the amount of money that's being spent on this type of housing. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Angela.
Okay, thank you. The Center for Court Innovation and the U.S. Department of Justice Bureau selected Broward County, specifically the city of Fort Lauderdale, as one of 5 locations in the country for the program in 2018. I collaborated very closely with the Honorable Chief Judge of Broward County for the 17th Judicial Circuit Court, Chief Judge Jack Tudor. My role was to build the community court with the correct stakeholders, government agencies, nonprofit organizations, and companies to assist the NTAs and walk-ins with services. As you can see, Broward County has successfully opened 3 community courts. Although there are nearly 70 community courts throughout the country, Broward County remains the only court in Florida to have 3 community courts.
Yes, and I just want to point out, to kind of link our prior slide with this one, that, back in 2018, when there was a realization as to the amount of money that was being spent on these resources, we were lucky enough in the 17th Judicial Circuit to have a chief judge who was cognizant of these issues and happened to be passionate about doing something about the situation. That's when they started looking into alternative programs at the time to address people that were dealing with mental health issues. That happens to encompass a lot of the homeless population. And we were lucky enough, through the passion of our chief judge to go forward in this journey and to be approved by the Center for Court Innovation and the U.S. Department of Justice. Angela was lucky to be there from the beginning. I think we're the ones that were maybe lucky for that, and was able to oversee, at the end of the day, all three of the community courts. I think it's really significant to note that even with the founding of Fort Lauderdale Community Court in 2019, even as we sit here today speaking to all of you, Broward County is still the only county in the state of Florida that has community court. And that's pretty significant, especially, when we get to the end of this, when you realize just how broad some of the issues are that we're addressing. And although community court isn't necessarily a simple concept, when we're looking at the alternatives to, jailing individuals, to spending this amount of money, then I think it may not be simple, but it's certainly simpler than what we've been dealing with in the past before the establishment of community court. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So I made this slide because I wanted to point out to everyone, and I think for a lot of you that are involved in, public interest law and things like that, you probably already know this, but it's interesting, or, I think one of the important things to keep in mind is that there are a variety of things that contribute to homelessness. So of course, all the things that we see here on the slide: lack of affordable housing, especially in Florida, decline in levels of public assistance, lack of affordable health care, mental illness, substance abuse, poverty. A lot of times when you are dealing with people who don't necessarily work in this arena, the cliche image that they have of a homeless person is someone dealing with substance abuse or dealing with mental illness, that person that's lying under a blanket on the street corner. But homelessness and the issues surrounding it really go well beyond that cliche image. With the cost of living rising on a daily basis, we see a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and anything can happen. They can lose their job, someone can get sick in the family, there's a death in the family. Any little bump in the road can derail those efforts. Even just something as simple as an increase in rent, at the end of their lease term. And I'm sure this is something that a lot of you have seen before. Any of those things can kick in and lead to homelessness in an individual and families. So I think that it's important when we are educating people about community court to understand that we're not just dealing with individuals who fit into this neat little cliche image of homelessness. We're really dealing with a much broader population and much broader issues that have to be addressed. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right. So these are the goals and objectives of community court. Okay, so there's a lot of type here, but I am going to go through it because it's really important to understand these are the broad stroke goals of community court and a community court program. So the first one would be to strengthen community partnerships and collaboration. So these types of courts do require active cooperation between the criminal justice system and the community to deal with these crime and safety issues. Okay, we're trying to hold people accountable for their conduct while also addressing those individuals' needs, the causes of that behavior, and to try to improve the quality of life, not just for these individuals and these defendants, but for the communities. So the communities like to see this balance between holding someone accountable and make sure we're administering justice while also helping these individuals. So there's this important balance of collaboration between the courts, the service providers, the communities that they are in general. Okay. The next goal would be to increase participant accountability and reduce recidivism rates of repeat offenders. This is very important, and it's something that I like to point out to people who may be questioning of community court programs. Sometimes when people just aren't familiar with it, it's something totally foreign to them. They think maybe we're just letting people get off that, maybe breaking the law. But the bottom line is, when we're dealing with community courts, and obviously, as I said at the beginning, when I'm talking about community court in this presentation, I'm talking about a community court that focuses on a homeless population. You can be dealing with individuals who have been homeless and on the street for a number of years. And that alone is going to spur, in all likelihood, a number of different violations of the law. That can be anything from sleeping in public urination, things like that. And so by the time someone comes to community court for us, they could have already been on the street for years and been in and out of jail, repeat offenders. At the end of the day, what you're trying to do is, yes, hold them accountable, but try to break that cycle. How can we encourage them to take control of their life, to break the cycle and overcome whatever problems are causing this to happen over and over again? So you may have someone who's been on the street for the past, 5 to 10 years. And if you are able to get them into this program and ultimately you're successful with it, at the end of the day, not only have you helped someone regain control of their life, but that means that this person is not on the street anymore. Law enforcement is not going to have to worry about coming in contact with them. The other individuals in the community aren't going to have to be concerned about the impacts of homelessness on their community because you're taking that person off the street. So there's really pros to each side of it. All right. The next goal would be to give the community a voice in shaping restorative justice. This is important because when we're dealing with community court programs, it's not just a matter of establishing your program and then telling everyone else this is how it's going to be. It's important to invite a voice from the community, whether that be from the elected leaders or just other interested neighbors that may be, in the community that want to give an opinion or are curious about what's going on. In Hollywood Community Court, we have individuals, for example, we have a lot of individuals from homeowners associations and things like that. They're very involved in their communities. They just want to come to court to see what's going on. They may have questions for me. They may have suggestions for me. Some are good, some are not so good, but it's important for them to understand that the truth is in the name. It is a community court. So it's important for the community to understand that they have some sort of a voice when it comes to how that program operates and looks within their community. The next goal would be to enhance the quality of life of all city residents. This is something I kind of touched on earlier. So I don't think that, any community is going to benefit from having a large homeless population within it. There's a number of reasons for that. That we could spend a whole nother presentation just on that issue. But the goal here is not only to increase and enhance the quality of life for the community court participants themselves, but also for the residents of the community that you're operating within, okay? The next point would be to use punishment to pay back the community. So when we're dealing with the average case outside of a community court type program, as many here have probably seen before, you're dealing with standard sentences for misdemeanor crimes and municipal ordinance violations. So that can be anything from payment of a fine and court costs to being put in jail to being placed on probation. So yes, those are things that punish the offenders, but those types of punishments don't do anything to necessarily give back to the community, and they certainly don't do anything to reduce recidivism rates, okay? I myself, before community court started, would see individuals come into my courtroom week after week. They were homeless. They had been on the street for years. They would consistently either, have their cases adjudicated or opt to, take a plea in the case. And ultimately, at a minimum, they're going to be on the hook for court costs or monetary fines. But the likelihood that a person that is experiencing homelessness is going to have the ability to pay those costs off, especially when you're dealing with someone who's been on the street long term or may have multiple cases out there, is very low. So it's not as if the money itself is even something that's being given back to the community. So in situations like this, like community court, instead of using those traditional types of sentencing, we are utilizing things like community service, where a person is truly giving back to the community in order to, essentially have their cases disposed of at a later date. And we can get into that in further detail further down the road in the discussion here. All right. And the last goal would be to open social services at the court to residents. So this is an interesting point that I want to make about community court. The community court program itself, yes, is open to defendants who may have court cases, but interestingly, one of the main characteristics that you will see of any community court is that we also allow walk-in clients So that means that an individual in the community does not have to have a court case in order to come to community court and make contact with the service providers that are there in order to take advantage of the resources that we have. So when you come to community court, essentially you're walking into a courtroom that is full of service providers, and Angela will discuss that in more detail in a few minutes, but it's essentially full of service providers that provide a range of different services that a person may need who's going through a hard time in whatever scenario that may be for any specific individual. So a non-offender resident of the community, as long as they are a resident of the community that that community court is located within, can come to any community court session, they can sign in, they can speak to any of those service providers, and it gives a nice hub, if you will, for individuals in a community to be able to come in and access services that they otherwise wouldn't know about or certainly wouldn't know how to link themselves to. So I think that that's one of the really great hallmarks of community court and something that many people just don't know about. All right, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide.
So as you can see, this will detail the eligibility criteria. You have been charged with a non-violent misdemeanor or violation of a municipal ordinance. You reside in the municipality where the community court is established, and you have a non-violent criminal history. This is a voluntary program, and if the participant decides to decline to be part of the program, his case will be transferred to regular courthouse ordered by the Honorable Judge Cawthon. NTAs will have to have a non-violent criminal history. That's the most important criteria in order for you to be part of Hollywood Community Court.
Absolutely. And I do want to point out here that, and anyone can look up this administrative order if you're interested in seeing the specifics of the requirements in the outline for community court in Broward County. If you go to the 17th Judicial Circuit's website, it would be Administrative Order 2019-90-CRIM. That is the administrative order that established community court in Broward County and outlined, all the eligible ordinances and things like that. But these points that Angela hit on are the highlights, okay? These are the main issues that have to be addressed for anyone that is interested in coming into community court. So the charge itself has to be nonviolent in nature. They're generally misdemeanors or municipal ordinances. The person has to be a resident of the municipality where the community court's established. So again, in Broward, we have 3 community courts. We have Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, and Hollywood. So we can unfortunately just, these are the logistical restrictions that we have. Any of these individuals that are interested in community court have to be residing within one of those 3 municipalities to join that community court. All right. And then when we look to their background, it has to be someone that has a nonviolent criminal history. Generally speaking, either the referring law enforcement officers or the prosecutor will be screening them to check their backgrounds to see what's going on. If they see that there's some sort of a violent crime that seems like it was, remote in time in any sense of the word, then they bring that to the judge, and the judge ultimately has to make the call on what to do with it. All right. And then I do just want to underscore what Angela already said. This is a voluntary program. And I repeat that because it's a question that I get very often from all kinds of people. This is not a mandatory program. A judge or law enforcement cannot mandate that a defendant join a community court program. It's entirely voluntary. There's a number of reasons for that, but one of the most important reasons is because you are not only trying to give this individual the opportunity to retake control of their life and go through, and address all the goals that we previously discussed today, but they have to be willing to do that, because we can certainly do a lot of the work, and we do. Okay. But if that individual is not willing to meet you, I don't even say halfway. I usually tell people, we'll do 49% of the work for you and linking you with the services and making the contacts that you need. But you have to be willing to do at least 51% of the work, because if you're not willing to make the change yourself and put the work in yourself, then we can't have you in the program. So it's important to note that this isn't like, some other diversion type programs that you may have seen previously. It's entirely voluntary. All right. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide, and we're going to talk about the actual process of community court from beginning to end. Okay, so how does it start? Again, we're dealing with homeless individuals because we're talking about Broward County. So a homeless individual gets cited for an eligible offense. So that would be one of those nonviolent misdemeanors or municipal ordinances. In the administrative order in Broward, it actually has a list of different ones. Okay, so it has to be an eligible offense. The person is cited. And again, it has to be within a community court municipality. All right. So the next step would be they're getting cited. They can either be referred directly by law enforcement on the street or by the presiding judge. So generally speaking, in most cases, we're dealing in Hollywood, we're dealing with individuals that are cited with a notice to appear. So it's an out of custody arrest. Okay. And either law enforcement on the street, they can screen their background to make sure they're nonviolent, and they can go ahead and do a direct referral to community court, give the person the next community court date with the information where to go. Or they can go ahead and just do a regular standard NTA where the case would be brought to regular division. And then the presiding judge, in this case for Hollywood, that would be me, would have a discussion with that person in court at arraignment as to whether they're eligible or interested in going to community court. And if they are, then we go ahead and set them up with whatever the next community court date is. All right. So let's say that they've either been referred by law enforcement or they've come to me and they're eligible and they want to join community court or at least check it out. All right. They come to community court. When they get there, they sign in. If they are on the court docket, meaning they're not a walk-in, they have a case, then the first thing they do is sit down and receive a needs assessment. Okay. That is so that we can make a determination as to what their needs are. The reason for that is because, as many of you know, everyone has different needs. Okay. Some people, it's as simple as they need a job and a place to live. Okay. They need some sort of income and a place to live. Other people are dealing with more serious issues. They have substance abuse issues. They have some mental health issues. Maybe they have some other type of physical health issue that needs to be addressed. If that's the case, then that's all put down on their assessment form to see what the needs are. Once they have received their needs assessment, they're able to speak to a defense attorney. So we have a public defender that's either present there in court or at a minimum present over Zoom. They meet with their defense counsel. They talk to them about their needs assessment. They go through their paperwork. So generally our paperwork includes a HIPAA release. That's so that as they're going through the program, we're able to discuss with providers what's going on with them, what their progress is. We have a recommendation and program requirement checklist. They have to review that with the attorney and ultimately agree to abide by the program requirements. Okay, so if they meet with their defense attorney, they go through all the paperwork with the attorney, they sign everything, they're ready to rock and roll, then we start the court docket and the individual will come in front of the presiding judge. That would be me for Hollywood. They discuss the fact that they're here for the first time. They reviewed everything. They voluntarily want to come into the program. They're ready to do this. At that time, I will go through the needs assessment with them and we'll come up with a case plan overview. Okay, so depending on whatever their needs are, as based on that assessment, we will come up with a case plan. Sometimes the first thing people need to do is get, a social security card or get their ID or their driver's license. We make those links right away. Some people need help signing up for benefits. Some people need employment. There's all different kinds of things that can go on. But we come up with a case plan to see how we can address those needs. Once I have spoken with them, they are immediately linked with the service providers that are there in the room with them. And before they leave that court session, they will schedule any follow-up appointments, provide contact information, get meeting times and locations so that they can meet with those service providers in between the next, this session and the next one. And they have instructions on what they need to do. It is very significant and important to understand that one of the huge benefits to this type of program and this setup is that you have the service providers in the room with not only the court, but the individual, so that I can say to them, okay, you need to get your ID. I want you to go directly over to that table and speak to that service provider, and they will set up the appointments and do what they need to do. That warm handoff, that link is so important to the success of this program, because very oftentimes, and I'm sure many people who are here today already know this, the resources that are needed to address these needs are out there in the community. The issue is finding the link between the person who needs them and the service provider that can help them. And in this case, it can't get any easier than them being in the same room and just having to take the 10 or 20 steps over to go meet with them. And that's really one of the important, ingredients to the success of this program. All right, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Speaking of service providers, Ms. Angela.
This is what I like to say, it takes a village. That's my favorite line. In the courtroom, we have available in the community court the following organizations. We have volunteers from the Caring Place, which is also the host. We have case management services, detox treatment, medical assistance, mental health assistance, homeless outreach team, legal assistance, food referrals, fire rescue, employment services, services accessing ID and birth certificate assistance, cell phone assistance, clothing and shoes assistance, applying for financial assistance, and bus passes. We have all these organizations in the room during the time Judge Cawthon is presiding the court. We also have a list of other organizations that I'm able to contact there and then if they're not able to. But in order to make and have community court the success it has, as Judge Cawthon was saying, the more service providers that we have in the room, the easier the job is to get that person to address their underlying issues and to make a difference in that person's life.
So a lot of times I refer to our service provider list as spokes on a wheel when I'm trying to explain to either a defendant who's interested in community court or just, a person in the community that's interested in knowing what the heck community court is. And we're talking about these service providers. We deal with this entire list of different services. So remember when we were talking about the process just a few minutes ago, I told you that one of the things that we do is come up with a case plan overview based on that person's needs. A person's needs can range in many different, forms and numbers and services. And that's why we have to make sure that when community court is getting set up, you want to make sure that you have service providers there who can address those needs. So when you look at it as spokes on a wheel, I know that I need people there to, of course, deal with housing, but I need people to also deal with the more preliminary things like a person's documents, their birth certificate, their ID. We get into issues where people need legal assistance because they have, pending disability claims that have been denied. Sometimes we have people dealing with substance abuse issues, so we have to make sure that we have service providers there that can help with detox or other types of support when we're dealing with substance abuse. All right. There's going to be a variety of different things. Some of these are going to be more practical, things like clothing, things like food, the documents, the birth certificate, the ID. But then we have the bigger needs. They're not necessarily bigger, but I guess we oftentimes just think of them as being bigger. And that's going to be the things like housing and case management and employment. You have to make sure that you're hitting everything from the ground up when you're dealing with needs. So when you're thinking about the model of community court, one of the most important things are going to be the service providers that are there in that room that are willing to make those in-person warm links with the individuals that need them. But it's important to know that you have all the service providers there that can provide a range of services that a person may need when they're dealing with a hard time. Okay. All right, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Now, after a person has come to community court for the first time, they've signed all their documents, we came up with their case plan overview, we linked them with their service providers. Now what happens? Okay, they start working the program. One of the requirements in Broward County per the administrative order of the community court program is that all participants are required to complete 10 hours of community service prior to graduation. Okay. Now, The 10 hours may take different forms depending on what is going on with the individual. We typically assign those services based on a person's education level, their work experience. Sometimes it depends on their physical ability or their availability. Okay. We work most closely with Broward Sheriff's Office here in Broward County. They have officers who have a weekly schedule. They update it every single week. And typically we can give it out in court and say to them, okay, this is where there's an officer that's going to be at this location for this particular service on this date and time. If you want to, complete some of your service hours, you can show up and then they'll be able to sign off on your hours for you. So that's really the standard when it comes to service hours in our program. But I do recognize that we have to be flexible and creative sometimes. Why is that? Because sometimes we are dealing with individuals who physically may not be able to do things like park cleanups, which is one of the big ways that we do community service down here. They physically can't do the work, or it could be a mental health issue, it could be other things. I had an individual who has since graduated the program who went through detox and entered into a residential recovery program, which had, pretty strict rules around curfew and when they needed to be home. And he also got a job and was trying to hold that down as part of his program requirements. So his availability to be present during the weekday for things like park cleanups was going to be very limited. So we had to be a little bit more creative in a situation like that. So you have to look at what's going on with this specific person to determine what they can actually do when it comes to community service. It's important for them to be able to complete the community service because, number one, this is them giving back to the community as part of the program. Number two, it also gives them a point of pride because now you're taking a person who a lot of times has had nothing and you're giving them the ability to give something back to other people. And so you will see in many cases just the pride that they take in being able to tell you that they completed their service hour requirement in whatever form that may have been. So you certainly have to recognize that not everyone is able to do the same exact things. It's important to have a standard, but you have to be flexible when you're dealing with this particular population. So it's a mandatory requirement for them, but those service hours may take a different form depending on what's going on with the individual. Now, for Hollywood Community Court, our sessions are held every other week. So the participants are required to come to biweekly status hearings. Prior to every status hearing, we have a meeting with the service providers that are working with particular individuals so that they can report on their progress, so that I know whether they're going to follow up appointments or interviews, they're completing their service hours, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, so that when they appear for the status hearing, we can discuss their progress. If they haven't been doing what they're supposed to be doing, then we have to have a discussion regarding why that is. There has to be some sort of accountability when you're dealing with programs like this, okay? So it's important to have those conversations. Sometimes there are other roadblocks that'll come up during the course of a person's program interaction, and so we have to be able to address those as they come up as well. So it's important that we have those biweekly status hearings to discuss their progress with the providers and with the individual to know what's going on with them and how they're doing. Once they have completed their agreed upon case plan, in addition to their service hours, then they're eligible for graduation. And ultimately that means that they get a graduation certificate showing they completed the program, but also any pending case that they have that's in the program. So remember, that's only for some of those eligible type charges. Those will be eligible for dismissal as well. Now, in order for a person to graduate from Hollywood Community Court, I want you to understand that that means that person has a place to stay. They are self-reliant, meaning they have some source of income, whether it is through employment or through benefits or something of that nature, okay? And they've completed their community service hours. I say this because I want it to be, it's important to understand that for someone to graduate and be eligible for dismissal of their charges, this person has taken control of their life, just like we talked about at the beginning today, okay? They have taken control of their life. They now have a life that they have control of. I know that if I graduate them and dismiss their case, they're not going to be back in front of me in a week or a month with a new case because they're back on the street. We know that they are on their feet, they have a support system in place, and they have a place to stay that's not on the street. And it's, it's a great thing to be able to experience those successes when they do come. I've had someone graduate the fastest within about a month. I think our longest has been almost a year.
Yeah.
It just depends on the individual and what's going on with them. You have to be patient. It's a process. We all know that, some of the resources that people need, they're not things that can be accomplished overnight. So it's certainly an exercise in patience on all sides. All right. We can go ahead and go to the next slide so that you can see some of the numbers that we're talking about here.
So as you can see, the volume of persons served has definitely increased from the launch of Hollywood Community Court in 2024 by approximately 80%. Here's a breakdown. The first one is a breakdown from January to December 2024. And the next one is from January to April 2025. And the final category is a cumulative figure as a whole. We've served 458 individuals. We've had 60 NTAs, 218 walk-ins, 15 graduated, and 17 placed in housing. All the graduates are individuals who have completed their community service hours, addressed their underlying issues raised by Judge Cawthon, and obtained some form of housing. I'm really proud of these figures, and we're just taking it to another level. I think this is absolutely amazing for a program that's only been running from Hollywood for just over a year.
All righty. Agree with that. Definitely. It's, I just want to make sure that everyone heard what Angela said and is looking at these numbers. When you look at the numbers for all of 2024 compared with just the first quarter of 2025, we're already on track to have numbers that are more than double of what we did in the entirety of 2024. And I think that that can be attributed to a combination of need and knowledge that the court program is there and available to people. All right, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide so we can talk about who is involved in all of these different community court aspects. So the short answer is it's a lot of people, okay? When you're setting up community court, I like to think of it as herding cats because that certainly is how it feels most of the time. Once the program is in place, it's certainly a lot easier, but there's no doubt about it. It's just a lot of people that are involved in this type of a program. And this goes back to that collaboration aspect that we talked about in the goals slide. So when we deal with, so the courts are obviously going to be one of the biggest components, okay? We have the chief judge as well as your presiding judge for community court. We're lucky enough in Broward County to have 3 presiding judges over our 3 community courts, but at the end of the day, you have to have your judges that are actually going to be presiding over the court, okay? We have court administration because they're going to be the ones that have to sign off and organize everything, make sure all of our paperwork is correct. And you're going to have the clerk of courts. Every community court session is a court session. These are recorded. They're on the record, just like any other criminal proceeding. So it's important to understand that anything that you would need in the traditional courtroom for a criminal proceeding is also needed for a community court session. All right. And that also includes the attorneys. So you have the Office of the State Attorney, the Office of the Public Defender. The only reason I have them in brackets is because right now, Community Court Hollywood does not deal with state misdemeanors. We are only dealing with municipal ordinance violations. So we at this time are not utilizing the Office of the State Attorney and the Office of the Public Defender, although our administrative order does obviously allow for their participation since we could potentially, be addressing those misdemeanors at some point in time. So in addition to the courts, you also have the municipalities. Keep in mind that when you are dealing with community courts, these are done, at least in Broward County, they're done by municipalities. So there's no such thing as a Broward County community court. These are by city. So for our community court that we're just addressing today, we're dealing with the city of Hollywood. All right. So then you have all of their players. You have their mayor and the city commissioners. These are the people that you have to have their support and their approval. The city manager. We've got community development, which is the division that Angela works within. You also have the police department because they are the ones making street referrals and ultimately educating a lot of the homeless individuals about the existence of this program. And in addition to that, similar to what we discussed earlier, you've got the prosecutor's office as well as the public defender's office. So you have to make sure that you understand, again, just like I said earlier, anything that would be required for a traditional criminal proceeding in a courtroom is required for community court, which means you have prosecutors and you have defenders. You got to have both sides covered. It can't be one or the other. But you also have to make sure that you've got this approval and support from all of these other aspects of the city and the courts. Now, when we're dealing with the county itself and the service providers, I'm going to let Angela get more into that because she's really the one that does all the wrangling for the service providers. So go ahead, Angela.
So first of all, there's no way that this court could even go forward without all our service providers, and all our service providers are there voluntary. So I will start from the top. Henderson Behavioral Health has been involved in all the community courts from the very beginning. The court liaison that we have there, she will conduct the assessments and the needs assessments for every NTA for Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, and for Pompano Beach. The Broward Sheriff's Office, the Re-Entry Division, they deal a lot with the employment and with the ID and social security requests and finding jobs for our clients. The caring place, that's the host. This is the actual court is held in a shelter, actually in their dining room. So we set up, and that's where the volunteers come in. We set up, we change the room from a dining room to a courthouse, and then back again every other Tuesday. We have BARC, Broward Addiction Recovery Center. They're actually very heavily involved. They have actually brought their outreach team there, and we've had people that have declared that they need detox there and then, and they've transferred them straight out of community court into detox. We have Task Force for Ending Homelessness. This is a homeless outreach team. They're absolutely phenomenal. They're out on the streets in Hollywood every day, talking to the individuals that need assistance and providing services, whether it's a verification of homeless letters, so the individuals can actually apply for an ID or a social security card. Care Resource, they deal with case management and medical and dental services. Memorial Healthcare, we actually have at least once a month the mobile medical van outside of the caring place to access services for individuals that need medical care there and then. We have Hollywood Fire Rescue, which has been an amazing collaboration. They have a section called Integrated Mobile Health. And again, there's been situations where people have fallen ill there and then in the middle of court, and they're able to bring them to take them and bring them into services. Broward County Housing Options, Solutions and Supportive Division, very important. They've been very instrumental in finding housing for individuals that are on the HMIS, which is a homeless information system. Legal aid, coast to coast legal and legal aid. Is always available, may not be in the court, but they're always available online, and they've been absolutely phenomenal. Light of the House World Clinic assist individuals with no medical insurance. Arms of Hope Housing, that's a shared housing facility, and they have housed several of our graduates into their programs. South Florida Wellness Network, they assist individuals with mental health challenges. Footprints to Success, very similar, but they have an in-house, a clubhouse. They can provide more intensive mental assistance for individuals. And we have Veteran Services. These are the core organizations that we deal with. And there's a lot more that are involved with the Hollywood Community Court.
So obviously the list of organizations that Angela's gone through, those are specific to our area, not only Broward County, but also to Hollywood. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are here today that are, not necessarily from Hollywood, maybe not from Broward County. And so if you were ever interested in looking to the possibility of having a community court in your in your neighborhood, so to speak, then these are the types of service providers that you would
Yeah.
need to be looking for as far as having their support and their participation. So this is just like I was saying earlier, the spokes on the wheel. You're addressing all different types of needs. You have to make sure that you've got people there for that, because without those service providers, like Angela said, the program doesn't work. In fact, all three of the groupings that you see on this slide, the courts, the city, and the community partners, you have to have all of these to make sure that the program works. That's just the foundation of the program, is this balancing and this support and this collaboration between these groups. All right. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right. So how does it all end up? So at this point in time, I know we've got a couple pictures that are a little rotated a little strangely in here, but I'm hoping you guys can see most of them. These are just some of the graduates that we have had so far. So again, Hollywood, our soft launch was in January of 2024. So we've been at it for just over a year and a half at this point. We've got 16 graduates so far. And those 16 graduates represent over 66 combined years of homelessness. We have got people who vary in age and background. Some of them have been homeless for as little as 2 months. We have one gentleman that was homeless for over 24 years. But everyone that's in the pictures you see here are individuals who have completed the program and graduated the program. And they all have ended up in different situations. Just as much as their backgrounds have varied, their success stories have varied. Some people have been reunified with family, even out of state. Some have jobs in their own apartments. Some people, are living in long-term recovery residences. We've got a couple that are in nursing home facilities. It all depends on what their needs and their situation was. And they all were with the program for varying lengths of time. But at the end of the day, they're all able to graduate and successfully complete the program. Obviously, their cases were dismissed, but more importantly, they have their lives back. They have something that they didn't have before, and that's control. And I think that that's, something we're celebrating. Certainly, every time someone graduates the program, they are presented with a graduation certificate. If they're comfortable with having their picture taken, then we take their picture to make sure that, we can keep that, because it's a success story, not just for the person, but for the team that helped them. And, and at the end of the day, they go on. And I always tell them at the end of the day, you're graduating, but if anything happens, there's a stumbling block, something happens that's a setback, you can always come back to community court if you need to. Because again, remember, like we discussed in the beginning, they don't have to have a court case. They can come as a walk-in. And we have had at least one person I can think of who graduated the program. Things didn't work out for her the way that she had planned for them to. And ultimately, she came back to community court to see if we could revisit some of the issues and try to help her out of the situation again. And, these people, they work long-term with the team members in community court and those service providers. And ultimately, a lot of the service providers get just as invested in their success stories as the individuals themselves. So you're creating this, it's not just a sense of community, but it is a support system that goes beyond those individual court sessions. So I think that it's really unique in the way that it ends up working out. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. And these are photos that I wanted to include. They're actually from our community courts. You can kind of see this is the team, not all of it because we can't fit everyone, I think, in one picture, but our service providers, you can kind of see the layout. So like Angela said, with respect to Hollywood Community Court, we actually operate out of a homeless shelter. We utilize their dining room. And you can see that we've got, we literally set it up with a mock bench. We have the table that represents the podium there in the middle so that people can come up and sit and talk. We've got our Zoom screen. So if we have any service providers that can't be present in person, or even if we have a defendant who's in the program who may be in like a recovery or a residential center and they can't physically come to court, we'll allow them to be on Zoom. But we have our, our deputies there serving as bailiffs. And you'll see, the one picture on the top with all the tables. That's how we have our service providers set up, so that we can, send them directly from their discussion with me over to those service providers so that they can make those warm link handoffs. All right, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. And Angela is going to tell you how people can actually help community court.
So we're always looking for consistent and reliable volunteers that are available to assist with the setup, the running, and the takedown of Hollywood Community Court. It takes place every other Tuesday, and we need assistance from 11:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Volunteers will need to complete an online volunteer application form from the City of Hollywood Human Resource Department and have a background check. I can provide you a copy of the court session schedules for 2025 so you are aware of all the dates that community court will take place for the year of 2025. And I think my information on my email will pop up towards the end, I believe.
It will. And I just want to say that, I mean, obviously we're here today to talk about Hollywood Community Court, but for community court in general, whether you're someone who's just interested in what the program's all about, or a service provider that may be interested in getting involved in community court, there's a number of different ways to get involved. I mean, obviously you can volunteer. You've heard Angela go through that process, but sometimes it's just a matter of educating others about community court, just telling people that community court is out there, that it's a thing. Sometimes I talk to people and they have no idea what I'm talking about. And then they think it sounds, like such a cool concept, even though it's nothing that's new. Not even in Broward County. So sometimes it's just nice to have people educate others about community court and what it is. All right.
And Fort Lauderdale Community Court and us, we actually share as much as possible our volunteers and our interns as well. So the intern that we currently have, her name is Jolie. I believe she's on the line. Although she will be my intern for Hollywood, she does plan to go and visit and volunteer at Fort Lauderdale Community Court at some stage.
So that just goes back to that collaboration foundation. All right, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so for anyone that may be thinking about, persuading your community to establish a community court, there's a number of things to consider when doing that. All right. And Angela and I are going to kind of tag team these. We'll go through them a little quickly because I want to make sure you have time for question and answer.
Yeah.
So the first thing is going to be whether your community is willing to participate. So remember, that's going to include your circuit, which is going to be the court, the city, and the county's willingness to participate. You may not have one. I mean, I've had situations where I've heard of certain municipalities who are just not willing to get involved in it. It just depends on the level of support, but ultimately you're going to need all three of those to move forward with something like that. And Angela, you can take the next one.
Yeah, with regards to funding, I would suggest that you apply to the Department of Justice, and you also may need general funds from the city in order for that to happen.
Our three community courts in Broward are all a little bit different. So right now, Hollywood is funded exclusively by the federal grant. Fort Lauderdale started off that way.
Yes.
And ultimately, the city decided to match those funds so that they could have a little bit more flexibility in how they run the program. So there's differing sources of funding, but starting off with the grant is certainly one of, I don't want to say one of the easier ways, but maybe something a little bit more appealing to the city and your community.
I believe the city of Pompano started off with general funds, but now since have been involved in the grant funding as well. So they've done a combination of both.
And then next would be the location. So obviously you heard, for us, we run it out of our local homeless shelter, which is great because it's a hub for the homeless community. That may not always be an opportunity for someone, but it's important whatever location you're going to choose, that it be something within the community near the population that you're wanting to serve so that they can get to you easily and so that they know where it is. It should be something that is easy for a judge or law enforcement to point them to and them to know where to go. So it's important to
also to make the place very comfortable and approachable for them. I think that's something as well. The fact that it's not in a courthouse makes that individual feel a little bit more confident and comfortable to actually attend.
Yes. Important to note that none of the three community courts in Broward, they're not held in the courthouse. They are held in the community. So that's something that's very important to note when you're looking at these. And then I'm just going to run through these really quickly, Angela, if you don't mind, because I want to get to questions and answers if
Absolutely.
we have time for that. So remember to keep in mind the list of service providers that would be needed. We already kind of discussed that earlier. You're going to have to deal with logistical things like scheduling, when are all of these different participants available to come together for these types of sessions? Is it something you can do weekly? Does it have to be biweekly? That's just a logistical thing that you have to address. And then one of the other things I think is important is observing other community courts, whether it be here in Broward County or even other states. Angela's had the opportunity to go to a variety of other community courts to observe, and they're all completely different. So it's important to note and take away things that you like and don't like that may, be helpful or not helpful to your community. All right, so we can go to the next slide. Jorge, I don't know if we have time for question and answer, but I'm here for it if we do.
If you are available, we're happy to stay on. I did drop the CLE code into the chat in case anybody needs to jump off. This is being recorded, so if you missed out on the Q&A session, we'll make sure to include it in the recording. I'm gonna read out the CLE code pretty quickly. It's 2506107N. So that will be sent via email as well. So I did see one question in the chat that goes back to the service providers and the slide with the spokes, and the question was what is the most common need that you see? What is the greatest need or the most common need that you see?
So if you were to come into one of our community court sessions and get on the microphone and ask everyone that, I can guarantee you that the first answer would be housing, which is pretty obvious. But I think the answer is a little bit more complex than that because every person that needs housing is going to need a variety of other things. So for us, it's housing is, yes, is probably the most common because every single person that graduates is going to have a place to stay. Now that housing could be their own apartment, it could be shared living, a nursing home, reunification with family, it could be a number of things, but just as a general rule, that would be the answer. But I would also say some of the greater need categories would be things like case management, because you're going to have individuals who they just need assistance navigating the system sometimes, applying for benefits and things like that, as well as, peer support, substance abuse and mental health services, things like that. Those are going to be like some of the heavyweight service providers that we deal with. But I think housing is going to be the number one. It just sounds overly simplified to say it that way, but that would probably be the most straightforward answer.
I would also say medical assistance as well. I think it's definitely to our advantage that we have a medical bus that is available. And I know Fort Lauderdale has a medical bus for their court out every week as well. So some medical issues, they're sometimes too embarrassed to go to the hospital, but they can come to the medical van to get assistance.
Yes.
There's another question here, and I guess this one is directed to Judge Cawthon. Can the judge appear virtually?
So the answer is yes, because all three of our community courts do utilize Zoom in some way, shape, or form. I will tell you that I personally feel that it's better for the judge to be there in person if possible, because ultimately the judge is the one that's having a conversation with the person about whether they're in compliance with their case plan or not. The judge is the one that can hold them accountable. Whether the judge does or not, that is going to be the perception of the individual. Now, there have been times when I have, I've helped, whenever I've helped cover some of the other community courts, sometimes we have to do it on Zoom, and it's fine because we have the technology to do it. I can be there on the screen, still having that one-on-one conversation with a person. But I think for most of us who have practiced in one way, shape, or form prior to the era of Zoom, I think we can all agree that there is a certain benefit to that in-person component when possible.
As the webinar was happening, I was writing some notes and some questions that I had myself, and all of them I believe were answered. Like, for example, how long does it take to complete the case plan and graduate? So I saw that it was like from 1 month through a year. And I think as a legal aid attorney, I've done a lot of outreach events in the past and other concepts like let's say a hurricane happens and you have this hub where you have all these resources together. So this model really reminded me of that, of meeting people where they're at and that warm handoff, because it's easy to lose contact with folks that we're trying to help. And I was gonna ask Angela, how do you get all this done? Because it seems like a lot of work. How do people connect with you, whether it's service providers or volunteers? How can we help spread the word?
Well, how service providers seem to know who I am now in Broward County. So luckily for me, they seem to find me. But initially, when I first started, I was a case manager before I started working with the city of Fort Lauderdale. So I knew quite a lot of these service providers because I used to be a case manager in the industry. So that is a definite advantage. And I believe that's one of the reasons why I was successful in securing the position in the first place. But, you know, I believe that if anybody's working in the social service field and have a passion to help the homeless, they could do this actual role. There's a lot of organizations, and I do seem to volunteer for other things that I shouldn't be doing. But luckily, I have a fantastic manager, Mr. Ryan Coote, who's very supportive of me going above and beyond, and a wonderful judge to work for. And my job, I'm constantly thinking of, if if I was in this person's situation, which I have been in the past, what services do I actually need? So I try and think of me putting myself in the homeless situation. And I speak to a lot of service providers for assistance, and I ask questions. I ask the service providers, who else do you think we should have in the room? So that's very important.
Absolutely. I did see that someone just put in the chat, and I just wanted to address it because I think it's an important question.
Yeah.
I saw someone wrote, "Why don't more people graduate?" The answer is, I mean, if you were to come and view a community court session, you would be able to see for yourself right away why that is. Okay. But the best way that I can boil that down is this. Just like we talked about a few minutes ago, housing is probably the biggest need that we run across. It's also the toughest thing to achieve. Okay. So for a person to graduate, not only do they have to do all these other things, but they have to reach that final destination of housing as well. And sometimes that's easier than others. If I have a person who comes in that's physically and mentally capable of, working a job that we can get them into pretty quickly, they can start generating income, and we can try to find some place to get them into, or try to get them some sort of rental assistance so they can afford a place. Because unfortunately, rent down here is just so high. Okay, so that's tough. But most of the time, unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. A lot of the individuals that we are dealing with are people who have been on the street for a longer period of time, who are older. So our biggest age demographic right now is 55 to 64, which in my opinion is the toughest age demographic because they're not yet old enough to receive Social Security income, but a lot of them have been on the street long enough that it's tough for them to be employed now, whether it's a skill issue or just a physical ability issue. So that means that you're going to have to find other programs that can provide them with long-term assistance to pay for housing in whatever shape or form that may take that's appropriate to that person. And those types of programs have very long waiting lists. So I will keep a person in the program as long as they're willing to stay and be patient and wait for those, because I think it's important for them to have a support system and not to lose hope. But it can take a long time. We just had our most recent graduate actually. She's able to, to take care of herself, but she has some pretty severe mental health issues that just rendered her unable to be employed. Unfortunately, she did have some Social Security income, but it was very low. So we were able to work with the Hosty team in Broward County to get her on a list to wait for long-term supportive housing. But it took the better part of a year for her to make it to the top of that list because it's based on priority, not just wait time. But eventually her time did come around, and she has the keys to her own apartment now. She has a steady income. We were even able to get furniture and other things donated to her, so she has what she needs in the apartment. But those are things that can just take a very long time, unfortunately, and that's why the graduation number is not higher.
Oh, one thing I'd like to say as well, which I forgot to mention earlier, we have quite a few organizations that do donations, especially, I think one of the largest one is Broward County, that provide us with items that the homeless need, like ponchos and hygiene packs and socks and all that kind of stuff. So all the donation number that you saw, I think it was around 500, are individual items that the service providers that attend Hollywood Community Court has donated to our clients, which I think is absolutely amazing.
Definitely. Any other questions?
I don't see any other questions in the chat. I know you hit the nail on the head with a lot of the things that you discussed today. You mentioned housing, and I know for the civil legal community, that's probably one of the areas that we get the most questions about. I see a comment here. I'm so proud about the 17th Judicial Circuit Court's choice to invest the time and energy to support some of our most vulnerable community members. So a lot of thank yous, and we do see here another final question is there a way that we can have continued access to this information?
So when you all receive the PowerPoint from Jorge, the last slide is going to have Angela's email address on it. You can always reach out to her. We have the schedule for the entire year. So if you ever want to reach out to her or to myself just with a general question, or you want to come visit community court and see what it's all about and meet other service providers and things like that, you're welcome to do that. So to me, we have a very open door policy, but you can always reach out to Angela for whatever you need in whatever form that may be, and we're here to help.
I'll also make sure to add Angela's contact information in the email that goes out. And if anybody has my email, they can contact me and I'll connect you with both Angela and Judge Cawthon. So I know we went, as usual, we went a little bit past our time because we have these great presentations and great questions. So I want to thank Judge Cawthon and Angela Blaine for leading this amazing webinar. Everybody that joined us here today, thank you so much for joining us. So with all that said, have a great rest of your day and see you at the next one.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jorge.
Thank you.